Here is a revelation that probably shouldn't be shocking to you. Dear God, do I hate working. I've had multiple jobs throughout my 25 years on this beautiful planet, and I've dreaded them to varying degrees each and every time. But I'm not here to get into my resume. I'm here to try and make a point. And to do that, I'm going to be analyzing a little indie horror game called Blank 01. When you boot up the game, the first thing you're met with is the requirement to work. And after you take your list for the day, work you shall, answering the most mundane, pointless questions imaginable. And now, look, I'm not going to say that working is pointless. Not only do we need people working to function as a society, but I'm not privileged enough to not realize that, man, it's really tough out there. We've got bills to pay. But what I will say is that a lot of the dialogue in this game reflects my own views on work. I dread it. And I use that word specifically. The summer after my freshman year of college, I remember feeling as if my days were being counted. Not that they were numbered per se, but rather that I had a task list to complete, and that even on my days off, I would just count the days until I had to clock in again. Even now, each time I drive to work, I'm on the verge of a panic attack. The game reflects this beautifully with its structure, with the gameplay literally just being completing this mundane task list, even as the world distorts around us. The gameplay, in a single word, is so boring, and I think that's the point. It's not a fun experience, and neither is working a dead-end job. Each day, each time, it's work, eat, get money, pay, and sleep. But, again, the world distorts around us. What starts as a small corridor with all the rooms we need neatly lined up devolves into a series of endless hallways where we aren't sure where to go. I think the analogy here is rather simple. When you're starting your life in the corporate world, things seem deceptively simple. Do this thing and you'll get paid. Then you can feed yourself and pay your bills. And finally, you can get plenty of rest, ready to eagerly start the next day off right. That's how things start. But as humans, we inevitably ask the one question our advanced consciousness has dictated we ask. Why? I find it interesting that the game begins like the actual menu with a game over screen, with the options to quit or continue. It's like a life that no longer desires to be alive at all. And I think that goes back to the central question. Why are we doing this? The obvious answer is we need to live. But when you become so disillusioned with your life that you no longer wish to do that, what follows? Now, again, I'm not so privileged that I don't realize that people struggle and that they need to participate in this corporate grind in order to do things like provide for their family. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I don't think the game is either. Rather, it's more a critique of the system itself, one that not only allows, but even encourages people to work without self-actualization of the product they're creating. As Death of a Salesman, the greatest play ever written, by the way, so beautifully puts it. You don't feel the food you've grown in your own hands. Instead, you are so disconnected from your line of work and what you're producing that nothing even seems real. And when you're simply a cog in the machine, you feel as if you have no inherent value anymore. When Willie Loman screams at the top of his lungs, "I am Willie Loman," that is him trying to self-actualize. That is a proclamation that, despite everything, despite how much the system doesn't want it to be, that he is alive. He is Willie Loman, and nobody can take that away from him. Purpose is very, very complicated. And what makes that journey so complex is that, well, it's a journey, a very personal one at that. The why becomes not a definitive objective answer, but rather something that every person needs to find within themselves. And that answer people come to will be radically different from others' answers. I know many people that work a normal 9 to 5, and they are, well, they're happy with that. Like, genuinely. I've had these conversations with them, and they're satisfied with living in their hometowns, working a trade or corporate job for the rest of their lives. I think we have seen with the financial freedom movement this concept that to be happy, you absolutely need to move to some European country, start a YouTube vlog channel, and live every day like it's your last. And if you want to live that way, please do. But while it's not realistic for everyone, sure, it's also not even something that everyone needs or even wants. There will always be drawbacks to every lifestyle, and again, the answer to life is so personal. If you're unsatisfied with life, just travel and move somewhere cool. Except every ceiling is the same when the eyes remain unchanged. Moving won't solve your problems. But what can help, dear viewer, is living with intention. Now, I've talked about this before on the channel, so I won't go over it in full. But also, I feel like it could also be a corporate trap in disguise. That it's okay if you're miserable at your job. Just live your life without counting down the seconds until it's over. And while on the surface that is good advice, you can't let yourself be taken advantage of with whimsical platitudes like that. You can't solely live with intention. And I'm sorry for portraying that as the definitive solution in my videos before. Instead, first, you need to live in whatever way you want. I think we as humans underestimate ourselves. Many of us know actually how we want to live, but just don't do it because of societal pressures or things like that. Live freely, but more importantly, live shamelessly. We're all on different timelines. There is no endpoint anyway, and comparing yourselves to anyone else misses that point, I think. In the game, the protagonist literally just says, enough, and wake up. And then they tear it all down, literally taking an axe to the assets of the very game because life is not a fucking to-do list. And I think that's the lesson to take away here. If you ever find yourself counting down the seconds until, for example, your shift is over, just take another 1 second to think. Is that what you really want to be doing? I know it's hard and we can't all just quit our jobs, but what I would say is to at least try and find something, anything that you love to do and chase it. There is no definitive answer to the why of life. You have to figure that out for yourself. But if there's one thing even I have to learn, it's that it's okay to start that journey. It's okay to fumble as you figure it out. Life is messy, sometimes dumb, and sometimes mundane, and that's unavoidable at times. But damn it, if there's one thing I want for you, it's for you to live. And, as always, thank you for watching.